Let's pray this goes okay with our very own rebellious student, Infidel, telling us all about prayer in the UK.
Well, in a world where prayer seems to be answered with a firm no, Michaela's community school stands tall as a beacon of discipline and order, much to the chagrin of one student who, despite her fervent prayers for divine intervention, the High Court has upheld the school's ban on rituals, citing its commitment to maintaining discipline and order. While she may see it as a divine injustice, it does underscore the ongoing debate about the role of religion in UK education and the autonomy of schools set to their own policies. Who needs prayer when you have the guiding principle steering the way? Now, this story is brought by The Guardian by Sally Wheel, April 16, 2024. But in all seriousness, I have to say that the student knew what they were getting into. The parents were precursorily warned of what was going to happen and what to expect. They have very strict guidelines for not just prayer. It's not like they're being singled out, but I will have to say that I'm glad to hear that the student is not going to leave the school over this, because I do think this does present a good educational opportunity for them. Whether I agree with the school's methods or not, that would be something a little different. I'm not going to go into, but that's basically what's going on here. The student said, "Hey, I want to pray." Students started doing so, and ultimately the school said no, and now of course the courts themselves have sided with the school itself, saying no, this is divisive and will not breed the type of environment you want to.
I hear you say that, but Emma and I, we're both British here. Emma will understand what I'm about to say here. To hear religion banned in a school in the UK is absurd when you have religious and faith-based schools up and down the UK, thanks to the good old Church of England and the Roman Catholic Church, etc. Everywhere you turn, and you have parents up and down the UK doing, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not church, but they do church by, oh, look, I'm going to church just so I can get my kid into school. I can't think of the correct term for that. But to hear that a judge has gone, nah, religion's not allowed in school, in Britain quite happily up and down goes, yeah, all right, we could do religion anywhere you like, in any school you like. It just seems a bit, hang on a minute, which is all a bit odd. You know what I'm on about, don't you, Emma? When you've got like the C of E school round the corner, the Roman Catholic school round the corner, and you've got presentation Catholicism and presentation Anglicanism, where people do rock up on a Sunday and go, yeah, look, I go to church. Yeah, I'm a good Christian. Yeah, my kid could go to this lovely school. Yeah, and it does seem to be all a bit round the wackadoo here. Because she claims to be the strictest headmaster, the strictest headmistress in the UK. I mean, good grief. What is this, 1950s? What are we going back to the TV show that'll teach you with SR War? I mean, do they have the 6-inch rule as well? They've got the rule of 4 where you can't have more than 4 together. I mean, seriously? I mean, was it like that when you were at school? Because it wasn't like that when I was at school, and I did go to a religious school. Was it like that for you, Emma? Did you go to a school that was, the strictest school in England? Woo!
Well, I went to a Church of England school, which was
very
technically
good
a
girl.
religious
I went to a Church
school,
of England
but,
school as well. I went to a CFE school as well.
I think most of us did. And I would say the Church of England schools are pretty much performative religion, because we had a statue of Jesus on the front of the school, and that was sort of as far as it went. And
we
the
had
only
a
interest
chapel
anyone
in our
had in
school
that was the
grounds.
tennis
We had a
balls that were
chapel in the
stuck
school
in it.
grounds.
Oh, we didn't. We didn't have anything like that. No,
Yeah.
It does feel a bit. I just kind of feel like, and I think part of my bias is that I am skeptical and atheist, and I find the concept of asking your faith adherents to pray 5 times a day because it was originally supposed to be 50. I find that all to be a little bit absurd anyway. And I do kind of just think that because there are alternatives, like you either go to a school that's got a million insane rules, or you go to a different school where you don't have to have those rules, including being able to pray at the right time.
That's Hobson's choice, though. You're doing Hobson's choice there, though, because the child doesn't have a choice as to which school they go to. The parent chooses for the child. So that's a Hobson's choice. And I found that to be quite galling in the judgment. Well, you can just go somewhere else. I'm a judge. I say you should just go somewhere else. Which belies the fact that the child didn't choose to go to this school. And it feels very much...
and that's part of what makes me a lot more sympathetic to the story, because, you know, this is a kid who, your school is your life and you've got your friends there and blah, blah, blah. And ultimately it is, in my opinion, a parent being picky. But I still kind of think that this is fine. That if it's going to be a stuffy school in a million other ways, then I guess it can be stuffy in this way. And the parent chose to send them to a stuffy school and then...
I mean, it's in the pocket of Tory politicians. Of course it's going to be a stuffy school. I mean, Suella Braverman...
Well, exactly.
Suella Braverman was on the first board of governors. I mean, you've got Kemi Badenoch go and sticking her fingers in the pie, and you've got Rishi Sunak go, and it's just like, why are you sticking your fingers in this pie? Oh, wait, you're good friends with the headmistress here, which just seems a bit weird. But Helen, what was it like when you were going to school, and what's it like in America where they have no religion in school and they keep fighting over it in court?
Well, fun fact, I went to Catholic school when I was growing up.
Oh, you're a posh girl. You're one of those
I was poshy.
Well, you got two CFE and a Catholic. Just to be clear on, did you go to a religious school? Did you go to a religious school?
No.
Okay.
You see?
But so the difference is, though, that like even still, like we would have services, but they were completely like if it was Easter, we always had Good Friday off, but we would have a service Thursday towards the end of the day. You had to go to regular classes all day. And then if there was a service, it would either be first thing in the morning or the last thing in the day. It wasn't not to interrupt the flow of the school days too much. And also, like this, one of the benefits of going to Catholic school is that a lot of the religious stuff is kept separate. So like we would have religion class and science class because they were considered two separate subjects, you know.
You have creationism classes in biology.
No, we do not. Yeah, we do not have creationism classes. That's why I find the whole YEC thing like fucking weird. So, because I didn't grow up with that, you know. But what I found really interesting about this, when I was reading through this story, I was like, I'm curious. So like in American schools, like you can pray in school. You can like if you're having lunch and you say grace over a meal, you can. You are allowed to read whatever religious texts you want to. You can carry a Quran, a Bible, you know, the Torah, you know, the Vedas, whatever, like whatever religion you follow, and there's religious text that is important to you. You can carry it with you and practice your faith as long as it doesn't disrupt other students. And there's no proclamation from the staff of any, so like staff can't, you know, actively pray, you know, with the students, you know, but they're not even prevented. Like they can, if they themselves can want to pray over their meals and take time for meditation and prayer throughout the day, they can. But again, it cannot interrupt the flow of the school day. So when I was reading this, I was like, this sounds like the same thing we do in the United States. Like you can practice your religion, but it can't be to an extreme where it's interrupting the whole school day. And if you have to pray to Mecca 5 times a day at certain times during the day, but you're supposed to be like in English class, like you can't pray to Mecca in the middle of English class because that's all.
Because yeah, so Intro, you're the only one out of the 3 of us here who didn't go to a religious school, as you just said. So how do you see this case as somebody who did not go to a religious school?
I think first that I probably see it colored from the perspective of someone who's fighting the influx of Christianity here in our own schools, even in the public sector. So that probably colors my perspective quite strongly, bias against religion in general. I went to school in a public school. I did my best to absolutely hide any connection I had with religion because being raised in a very small minority faith in a very Catholic city, I wanted to have nothing to do with the way I was raised as far as in public, because I wasn't living that. So why take on that responsibility? So for me, the idea of wanting to bring your religion to school and wrap yourself into it like a cocoon seems odd in the first place. But I get it, because that's what these people are learning day in and day out on how to be a good person, whether that's for Islam or Christianity or whatever. And I do think that in the UK, there tends to be a more sanitized view of Christianity than here, say in Texas or Louisiana, back where I'm from.
King Charles is the head of the Church of England. You've got the Archbishop of Canterbury. You've got faith schools up and down the country. You've got the establishment of religious schools from Henry VIII when he stole the cassock off the Pope and went, "I'll be wearing that, not you, mate."
And my school had a cool statue. So, unfortunately, in our world, that's not what being a Christian or a non-secular organization is. So for me, I look at it, and the one thing that I will say is the school's probably not exactly the type of place for free thought. But I am glad to see that they are having the right to say, let's not bring in bad ideas and let's not share our bad ideas among each other, because that's really all religion does bring to the table.
So just for a bit of background on here. So the judge said that there was indirect discrimination here against the Muslim students, but that was not overridden in the application of the Equality Act to promote a legitimate aim, which, as regular viewers of you will know, as a legally trained person in the English legal system, I'm going to go on a bit of a legal rant here. So the Equality Act has 9 protected characteristics. One of those is your religion or belief, which was what was being used here to try to allow the Muslim students to pray at school. The school said no, and they said that this is not allowed because we are furthering a legitimate aim here, which allows us not to be required to allow you to do that. They said, hang on a minute, I want to pray. I'm required to pray 5 times a day. And the judge went, yeah, there was discrimination, but the legitimate aim came first. And the legitimate aim that the school successfully argued was the maintenance of an inclusive and productive educational environment, which for a free school is quite a big thing. And in the UK, a free school is a school which is autonomous from government, but still funded by the government. So it has its own independent board of governors, it's independent from the local educational authority, reports directly to the Department of Education, and is ultimately able to set its own rules, catchment areas, etc., which is why a Conservative politician was on the Board of Governors and is very pally with other Conservative politicians, whereas any other school you'd go, hang on a minute, what's going on here? So that's a bit of the background here. But I am, as a legal person, a bit confused by the judgment here, and I think that an appeal could potentially be successful here because it is a matter of degrees here. What is this educational environment that we're trying to promote here? And could it be argued that the spiritual health of the person is part of the educational environment as well? And as we're a skeptical organization here, and the 4 of us are very skeptical people, do we believe that spiritual health, as was put forwards as one of the things forward here, is something that we should be looking at, Emma?
Well, again, I'm I'm inherently biased, as you've just pointed out. And I have long been an advocate for raising children secular. I think that's the better way to, it's not my way or the highway, but I personally think that's the better way to raise a child. And it just kind of comes down to what Helen was saying about what the US law is, which is, does it interrupt the flow of education potentially? And, if it's disrupting classes for one student, does that one student's potential spiritual health, which is an incredibly difficult thing to try and gauge or measure, how much do you weigh that against potential disruption? And I don't think I know enough about to be honest, I don't think I know enough about the Muslim faith and Muslim prayer, because as I understand it, you don't, because she's staying at the school as well, this student, and as I understand it, there are ways to make up prayer if you don't have those prayer time. And again, it does seem like that, because there are alternatives to me, just, you know.
Yeah, I think Infidel was explaining to me that there is something, I can't remember what it was called. What was the word that you used to describe make up prayers or something? Is you used a very special word. What was that word you used?
Well, you know, the problem is I use it in typing, and I didn't bother seeing how to enunciate it.
None of us are going to know.
Yes, these make-up prayers, you know. So yeah, but there is an official term for it and designated for people in exactly these situations. So the fact that you want to build it as a situation of, oh my God, it's the end of the world. No, it's not. They can do it without having a scene of 30 people laying their blazers out to kneel on in public when you're not even supposed to have.
I think that's just a bad use of clothing as well, because blazers are actually quite a nice bit of kit. I mean, if you're gonna start kneeling on a blazer, you're gonna get grass stains on it. You're gonna wear away the back. I mean, just think about it, please. Don't destroy your nice clothing.
School
school uniform has got better, because if I was to say to Emma knee-high socks and a gingham dress, she'd probably cringe at me. Have the straw bows to go with that.
My school uniform was purple, bright purple. I don't even want to think about it.
Mine was black with purple trim.
Oh, that's nice.
I went to a Catholic school that did not have a school uniform.
Whoa,
so I know, very
whoa.
progressive. I know. Woo, I got to wear pants.
God, what kind of progressive Catholicism were you raised in? But I don't want to ask this one question of the panel. Do we think that it was right on the judge to say, no, you may not pray at school, Helen?
I'm sorry, what was that? I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Do you think it was right in this case for the judge to turn around to the student and go, nope, you may not pray?
Oh, this is where my fickleness about freedom comes in. But at the same time, like, if you're given time throughout the day, like quad up prayer, I think you were trying to say, Infidel, that if you're allowed to make those up throughout the day, then I'm kind of like, well, you still have an out. You still have the right to practice your faith. So if the judge said, like, hey, you can do it, but you can do it under these circumstances, then I don't understand why people can't adapt to that standard, you know, because the parent chose to put him into the school system, you know, and it was pointed out, like, you have the freedom of choice, you have the freedom of religion, which means that, like, if you wanted them to go to a stricter, more religious school, you could have put them into a stricter, more religious school. So I don't know.
Here's a
like,
devil's
what
advocate
the
to
school
throw back
structure
at you
is.
here. Here's a devil's advocate to throw back at you here.
Oh, you can throw it there. Yeah, that's fine.
Ramadan fasting, would you have required the student to eat something during the daytime if they went to this school? Or would you have said, look, you have to eat something or you can't come to school?
No, I wouldn't have said that. No, because that doesn't interrupt the school day.
But it could do, because they could have a physical education lesson that they can't take part in.
Because there's also like Christian rituals where people fast. So are we going to say that if this is a part of my religious practice, but it's not disrupting anybody else, then I'm not going to say, like, no, you have to eat something, you know?
And I think that does raise the question here, well, where do the standards lie? And I think it's time to decide. I think it's time to decide with you, the viewer, as to where your standards lie on this story.